Here we go.
All right, we're
Look
just
at
we're just
that.
gossiping at the time.
Professional.
Yeah, the fade in.
Pretty
Welcome
good,
back
huh?
to another week, and Matt and Ryan have a chat about probably AI news or something else.
Probably, yeah.
Probably. So we were just talking in the green room about Windsurf's announcement of their model called SWE-1. I would
Right.
assume SWE stands for Software Engineer One. Is that
Yes.
correct? It
And
does.
that is
Okay.
in the announcement, which was wave 9 of
Right. They just
Windsurf.
right, right,
They
right.
said it was trying to be a better software engineering model, and on par with Claude 3.5, I think.
Yeah, I'm reading that here, which is what I've been using because it's cheaper and
Yeah.
it's just a bit cheaper than 3.7. But I find because I'm trying to learn front end, I find it's actually pretty good at front end.
Hmm.
I'll say stuff because there's a lot. That's really cool, and it's free, correct?
It's
For a minute,
free if you have if you're paying for
I am.
Windsurf, it's
Yeah.
free, and then there's a light or whatever version, a mini, that is free for everyone.
Oh, it replaces Cascade Base. Sorry, I'm reading this as
Yeah,
we go. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
And there's another tab experience. Ooh, that's the
yeah,
killer app for me with Windsurf is that tab
yeah,
experience. Interesting. I'll have to
yeah.
try that out. That's
Now
really the difference
I
between. Yeah, go ahead.
I started playing around with it on Saturday or Sunday,
Hmm.
and I found myself switching back to Claude.
No way.
But only because it was so slow in responding. It would say it's taking me a long time. So I think
Oh,
it's like a whole bunch of people are
yeah,
trying it, and they just got slammed. And
yeah,
so by using resources that are on a different system, a different
right.
place, I was able to get stuff done. And so maybe now or in a few days they've got those things worked out,
Once it calms
and
down.
it'll be better. Yeah, because
Hug of
everybody's
death,
trying it.
I think we used to say. Yeah, so all the
Yeah,
windsurf
yeah, yeah,
happy users are
yeah.
hugging this model to death. Yeah.
Do, does I know for a long time,
Hmm.
maybe I shouldn't ask this, but for a long time, Datadog, if there was somebody was having an outage or having a problem, you always sent out either donuts or a cake or something to like it's all
Yeah,
okay. We're
like a
all
hub ops,
yeah,
hug
hug
ops kind
ups.
of thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that was something that I think that was something that Elon really liked to do, and we
Yeah.
may have stopped when he left.
Mm,
Also, we definitely stopped during COVID because it felt like
mm,
some of it is like, listen, it sucks for all of us. We're all in the
yeah.
same game together, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
That's the spirit of the hug ups.
Right.
It felt a little bit shallow during
Mm,
COVID, so I know we stopped then, and I think once he distanced himself or left the company.
yeah.
I'm sorry, not distanced himself. There's nothing going on
Yeah.
there, but once he left, I feel
Yeah.
like it stopped, unfortunately. But I
So,
still
oh, okay.
do. I still do reach out to people who I know that work at
Yeah.
competitors or whatever, and
Yeah.
give them the hugs because I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of us are all in the same Hangops channels anyway. Like
Right.
we're all in the
Right.
same Slack server, so or we're all in
Yeah.
the same DevRel server, or like the community is
Yeah.
actually pretty small when it comes down to it,
Yeah.
in terms of the people who would actually care about others. Unfortunately, like the actual listen, lots of high IQ people in our industry. EQ is harder to come
Yes.
by, and I feel like if you can say that sucks. Like
Right.
sorry to hear that kind of thing. That
Right.
definitely we'd send it out. Yeah. Yeah, it blows.
Mm.
But this does feel like one of those good outages where they're trying to grow. I
Yeah.
would guess though, this indicates to me is that a lot of people did not like Cascade, and I actually did not mind Cascade for a few tasks. Like if I wanted to go through a
Hmm.
TSV and like
Hmm.
replace misplaced tabs and commas and things
Yeah.
like that, Cascade's
It's
perfect
amazing.
for that. In fact,
And the
yeah, it's
fact
like
that it like press tab to go to the next possible
yeah,
edit. I mean, it's like
oh, if you're
amazing.
editing CSS and you're not
Yeah.
just renaming a variable, but you've actually got to append something to it, it's a
Yeah.
little bit complicated. You could do it in grep maybe if you had conditional statements, or sorry, not grep. Oh, what am I thinking? Regex. Sorry, you could do it
Hmm.
in regex with conditionals, but maybe it'd be easier if I just hit tab a few times. Fantastic. I've definitely hit tab like 30 times in a 3,000 long file. So a 3,000 line long file, but I do feel like if they're getting this hug of death, that they didn't expect the amount of people to be using SWE, and some of that to me feels like the name. So if I name something SWE1, I expect like SWE
Hmm.
experience, and that's what I'm going to be testing when I
Right.
get off the line and we go to test it today, because a lot of the times when I'm chatting with these models, I'll start off and I'm wasting tokens, I'm sure, saying you're a
Mhm.
staff engineer at Google. Like, set some context. Like,
Right, right.
this is who I'm talking to right now. Let's
Yeah,
role play for a bit. Don't give me these junior engineer
yeah.
intern slop answers. It's not gonna cut it. But
Mhm.
maybe that's it.
Yeah,
I can't imagine it's anything else unless they run out of like GPU power and they can't get more, which is like a
right,
whole other
right.
problem out there, of course. This is cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Sweet Light outperforms Claude Haiku 3.5 according to them, which is all right. And it's just slightly less than DeepSeek V3 according to these charts. It's hard to trust any of these charts, I will say.
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
I'm looking at, Matt alluded to it, but it's the Wave 9 release notes from Windsurf. And yeah, this is cool. There's been a lot of news going on the weekend. Maybe it's because in Canada we had yesterday off for Victoria Day, but
Hmm.
it felt like this weekend
How
had a
was
lot of.
Victoria?
I mean, I don't think Victoria's been with us for a minute. I think is what's going on. It should be just under that. If you scroll past all the
Oh,
scams, yeah.
yeah.
Oh
I was
man, the
focused on
internet
trying to
is.
get it on the screen.
I
There we
hear
go.
you. The internet's hard to deal with these days.
Yeah.
But I do like these waves that they're doing for releases.
Yeah.
I feel like if you can get someone excited about your release notes,
Hmm.
you're doing something good. And
Yeah.
I am like legit. I've sent them to
And
you
the
at least once. Like I
and
am
the
excited
fact
about the
that
release notes.
it's the team, often the people who are actually working on the code
Yeah,
that do the videos that
yeah.
everybody sees. I mean, that's amazing.
I love, is it access? I love that sense of it's like parasocial, but I love feeling like I've got access to the engineers who are working
Right.
on that. I should probably, it's fantastic. Is he the HTMX guy? Matt, do you like HTMX?
Is he? Who is he?
Yeah, it's definitely not me. I'm not the HTMX guy. HTMX
HTMX.
looks fantastic though. Have you seen this? This feels like dirty PHP to me. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You can throw a whole bunch of like different languages to one. Like, oh, just go wild with HTML. It looks fantastic. And this is me. We talked about it in the greening room a little bit, but this is me watching videos from Theo or T3 and thinking this is pretty cool. I would like to try it though. I'm here for what is it, JSX as well. These seem very interesting. Carson
Carson
Gross or Carson
Gross.
Gross. Yeah. Intercooler. Oh,
And that is not anyone we've talked about. So I think the answer
I
is
don't
no.
think so. No, I don't think it is the HTMX guy. They were on Hacker News, though, it looks like. Look at that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Just released version 00.4. That must have been a minute ago.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a BTC maximalist in the chat as well. Fantastic. Great to see you. The other announcement that I saw that I think actually happened this morning because it's built on now or shortly, but Copilot was open
Yeah.
sourced,
Yeah.
which it's not.
Interesting.
So before you start, Matt, trying to think about creating a 3 or perhaps 9 billion startup by creating your own fork of VS Code and adding your I don't know, the Matt Williams Sweet 2, Sweet 3. What are you? Are you Sweet 3 yet? Well, we'll say
Sure.
Sweet 2. Sweet 2 or Sweet 3 for sure.
Sweet awesome.
Sweet awesome.
Or sweet.
Sweet. Sweet ET. It feels like what they're, or sorry, I shouldn't say it feels like, it is unfortunately the case that they're open sourcing the interaction between the model and the IDE as opposed to the smarts that were going on behind the scenes. So
Right.
that still is paid. You can fork your own, but listen, you have to run whatever data center and GPUs, just like Windsurf is fighting up against here, unfortunately. But it does mean that we can start seeing maybe other editors looking at how it was implemented in GitHub Copilot to see what they could do elsewhere. It does also look like a lot of those features that were in VS Code are now going to be in GitHub. I have tried some of the GitHub functionality with Sonnet 3.7 just to go through
Mhm.
like a PR and was not impressed. It messed up the PR pretty bad. It was just reset head, merge rebase, that kind of standard stuff, and it didn't do well at all. I think I told you I ended up just deleting the files and copying them back over and
Right.
force pushing to prod because, like, I've done it before. But this to me feels like a way to open the playing field, I guess, or open that battleground for more editors
Right.
to come up. And I'm super excited to see what the new IDEs look like. But I think, as we were saying in the green room, like, are we fixing something that's not broken?
Right.
Do we really need new IDEs? Do we need like an Aider or a Codex or a Claude
Yeah.
Code? You think?
And
No?
I
Yeah.
don't understand why. I mean, when there was when there wasn't before VS Code,
Mm.
um, I could kind of see the benefit of creating a new editor. Um,
Well,
but I
listen, we
mean, we
have
had what
Sublime,
was it?
and I love Sublime.
Sublime, and what was the one before VS Code that was from GitHub? Before GitHub was
Atom.
Microsoft.
Yeah,
Atom,
and prior to Atom, there was Eclipse. I think so. It was like
right?
Eclipse, Atom, and Sublime was somewhere in there. And Atom was fine if
Yeah,
you're working on one
and
file at a time, but I found it slowed down
and
quite a bit.
BB Edit.
BB Edit, yeah, Sabitha Edit, still the
Yeah,
collaborative
yeah,
editor I loved, which would use Bonjour to talk to all your other friends in the room.
right.
That was pretty cool.
But there, I mean, it was also surprising that there weren't that many other editors. I mean, there was. I
Right.
mean, when I think of alternate editors, I think of like Notepad plus plus or
Oh,
you
good
know,
point. Yeah.
yeah. But uh, but now, I mean, there's just so many. I don't see why
Sorry,
why
you
go through the
forgot
effort.
one. Did you forget Visual Studio?
Oh, I mean,
I
Visual Studio,
I think
yeah,
I think a lot of these were the response to Visual Studio, or I'm trying to think of the other editor. Because IntelliJ wasn't really there yet. IntelliJ
right,
IDEA, I think, came out right around that same
right.
time, was it not?
And
Around
wasn't
the
there
Atom era?
another one called Code Warrior?
Oh, Codor is old. Codor is like
Yeah,
90s stuff. That was one of my first IDEs on Apple. I'm pretty sure because it was one of the few
right.
Cocoa editors back in the day.
Yes, that's right.
We're dating ourselves a little bit here, but VS Code was in fact a revolution. And then there's Emacs, there's Vim, there's Vi or
Sure.
Vi. There's a lot of other stuff going on. But in terms of what people wanted to see, which was that
Right.
IntelliSense like feature,
Right.
I think
Yeah.
is what a
Yeah.
lot of people wanted to see, or maybe even code markup wasn't a novelty
Hmm.
back in the day. But we're
Hmm.
talking like 15 years ago. Did you know VS Code's been around for that long?
Yeah. And
I,
it used to be, I mean, for a long time it was Microsoft and or Windows and Mac, but I don't think the Mac version is available anymore of VS
Code.
Code or Visual Studio,
Oh,
of
it
Visual
is.
Studio.
Let me tell you, it is. Uh, I'm
But I
laughing
mean,
because it's very difficult to use. But
yeah,
yes, it does exist. You need an enterprise plan to get it, which generally you get
right.
as part of the software
Which I
license for
get,
like
I
one
get
dev.
Enterprise Visual Studio free
Hmm.
with my because I was ex Microsoft.
Right.
Um,
Oh,
but
NetBeans. Jeez.
it doesn't
You,
they refuse to like send out the key anymore
oh,
because it's not
interesting.
Mac.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But maybe I missed it. I mean, I tried to use it and I just couldn't
I, I
get it working.
thought I thought the Macs. I have to look into this, but I thought the Mac OS version was just downloadable.
Hmm. Oh, maybe it was no
Yeah.
longer Enterprise.
Yes, you can get the community edition. I had
Hmm.
the enterprise edition, which had actually a really cool feature, which was you could live debug and attach to an app running in something like application
Hmm.
service environments and
Right.
get like profiling as you're live using the app, which was
Right.
fantastic. Especially, again, I'm not a good coder, but like .NET,
Right.
especially not good at .NET or C
Yeah.
Sharp. So it was great for me. Like, listen, I'm just running a script. Can I make this better? Let's look
Right.
at the profile,
Right.
that kind of thing. I'm looking through a terabyte of files. If I can make this
Right.
50% faster, it'll actually matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've used the community version recently with no problems. And prior to
Okay.
that, I think 2020 was probably when I last used Enterprise.
Hmm.
But that's what I was using before for sure.
Hmm.
It's all right. It I think the biggest problem is how do I say this nicely? It's like the way that .NET and PowerShell run on Linux and Mac is different
Hmm.
than Windows, and a lot of the times it's not the IDE, it's whatever sample repo you're working with, or whatever blog that you've
Hmm.
read, or whatever you're trying to get done may not have you in mind, and as a result,
Right.
it becomes problematic to just get stuff to
Yeah.
compile on different
Yeah.
operating systems. That's my main issue with it. But if you're in that ecosystem, I think
Yeah.
it works fine,
Yeah.
totally fine. Have you
Hmm.
tried Codex from ChatGPT? Speaking of new editors.
I'm not paying $200
Oh,
a
right,
month.
right. No,
No.
I thought you were made of money. We got to get you more people to join your YouTube
More
channel or
sponsors. Yeah.
subscribe. Yeah, more sponsors.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned in the chat NetBeans, which I had not heard of in a long time.
A long time. Yeah.
And NetBeans, I think, had a really good way of visualizing. Was it classes? You could expand a class, like a class file back in the day
Mm,
before that was a thing. Yeah, we're
right.
talking. I haven't developed Java in a really long time,
Yeah.
in
No.
fact. But it was nice
No.
because you could explore stuff. I remember going through the LimeWire source code in
Oh yeah. Yeah.
NetBeans just to like give you an era. I think that's year
Yeah.
2001, 2002,
Yeah.
because it was open source. You could play around with it. Peer
Right.
to peer used to be a big thing back in the day,
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
before peer to peer was a big thing. But I am here for the new IDEs, and I
Yeah.
wonder if these are scratching that itch or maybe creating a new one. But the other thing is, and we talked about this as well, but DHH, David Hannemeyer
Hmm.
Hansen, I believe, released a blog talking about coding should be a vibe. And I want to disagree with DHH just on principle. It's not that I'm anti Ruby or anything like that, but I feel like I agree. I tried. I want to call it nog coding. It's kind of like when you code with your noggin, uh, just using your brain to code, and it's surprisingly enjoyable. Once in a while, you can reach out to your friend Chatty G, or maybe Sonnet 3.7 can sing you a song, but it's it's kind of nice to actually read the docs and write some code that
Right.
works. You
Right.
feel almost superhuman, and this is after doing some boilerplate and things like that. But I think his
Hmm.
main thing right at the end is that he's saying that instead of removing the toil of coding, so maybe helping with builds or test cases, things like that, it actually makes it so it's no longer enjoyable. And I kind of felt that because
Mm,
it did make it enjoyable for the first little minute, but then it
yeah.
removed all the fun of finding new
Right.
libraries,
Right.
in all the cool stuff that's in a
Right.
language, like figuring out built-ins and
Yeah.
I don't know, finding that one thing in the docs that everybody missed, and then you've implemented it, and it looks amazing. It sort of removes all that little endorphin, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then it builds this app that's massive, like this
Right.
massive
Right.
enterprisey app with tons of features. It's all singing, all dancing. You can't. You look at the code and variables are defined 5 times, and it's just awful sometimes.
Mhm.
It removes that fun. So it's really fun to start, and then once it comes down to debugging and making it
Yeah.
work, it's less fun.
Yeah.
That feels like what he's trying to say here, and he's
Yeah.
saying for him Ruby is the joy, so it takes the
Hmm.
joy from Ruby. I would disagree with Ruby being joyful any longer. It
Yeah.
was when it
No.
started for sure, and Ruby on
Or
Rails
is
definitely
he saying
was.
Ruby or his product, which is Rails?
He's saying
Just,
Ruby.
just okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
that all changed when I learned Ruby and then built
Yeah.
Rails. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
he's saying he right down here after the though Ruby after 30 years of constant improvement is incredibly fast and efficient and
Mm.
remains a delight to work with. I'm like, man, I feel like I disagree with you on both points there, but I
Yeah.
also haven't coded
No.
Ruby in a minute, so maybe he's right. But
No. Yeah.
it felt like it was a bit of a pain. Remember that like 1 minute blog demo for Ruby on Rails where you create your own blog engine from scratch in a minute, and it was
Right.
awesome.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
ignore all security. Just
Yeah.
YOLO, send
Ah.
this to prod.
Yes.
Full send. It was
Yeah.
amazing. One of the best tech demos I've ever seen. Like I'm not sure I'll ever be able to recreate something like that, but it
Yeah.
was phenomenal. Inspired
Yeah.
so many people to start coding, let alone learn a
Sure.
new language. But I don't. I think those days are over.
Yeah. So I got an interesting comment on one of my
Yep.
videos recently because I did a video on getting N8N installed, but
Right.
not just like the usual N8N install. You like spin up the Docker container, okay, it's installed.
Hit the W arrow.
But
Yep.
really, okay, now let's set up SSH so that it does not accept passwords, so it's no root, so that locking it down, firewalls, and all these steps to go through to kind of
Hmm.
make a basic security for the
Right.
server. And it wasn't that hard, and all the hard stuff was really automated in a script. Like run this script, it'll do all those things, and you're set. And then spin up that container, and then. But I was also using secrets in Docker and some
Hmm.
other things that were interesting. And one of the comments was, "I wish you skipped all the security stuff because if somebody wants to play around with NAN, they don't want to worry about all this extra stuff. They just want
Hmm.
to play with it
Right.
on a host."
Yeah.
And if after a couple weeks of playing with it and it makes sense, then deploy. Then worry about security. It's like,
Yeah.
no,
All gas,
no,
no brakes. Yeah,
yeah.
this I kind of love
I
this.
mean,
It's
if
sort of delicious. Like this attitude means that there's
yeah,
people who need to learn, but also it's very
yeah. I mean, if
frightening.
if that server is still running after 2 days or 2 minutes without being secured, and somebody hasn't broken into the system. Maybe it doesn't look like they have, but they might have, and you just don't know it until something's important goes over the line and they get
Yeah.
all of that. It was
Yeah.
just mind-boggling that somebody would say, skip this part, and then somebody else responds like, don't skip that stuff.
Please don't
This is
skip
why I
this.
like you. This is why I like watching your videos, because you don't skip that part.
And listen, not to inflate your ego a little bit much, but that's what I was saying before the show. Like compared to the Theos and the Primogens
Mm,
and all these kind of reactionary people are out there in the community, it does feel like your content actually has some technical grounding, which is
right,
important.
right,
And it does feel like, listen, we've got the SWE 1 model,
right.
but I do feel like the Matt Williams model is going to be SWE 2 or SWE 3. Like what are the
Yeah,
maintainability concerns? Like this is open source.
right.
Did you put a contributing MD in your
Yeah,
like you put this on GitHub? Guess what's going to
yeah,
happen? You're going to get issues. You
yeah,
left the wiki on. I mean,
yeah.
where's your documentation? Do you have any
Right.
code like samples? How do I get started? Like, there's a whole bunch of things that are
Hmm.
missing from repos that people don't realize.
I
Security, of
don't do a
course,
lot of that
being one of
stuff,
the biggest.
but security is
Well,
important, and but
listen.
security and maybe the license. If you're going to make something available,
We've
having a
talked about that.
license
Yeah,
on there.
yeah.
Yeah,
Making sure you've got a license and the package that you're using packages that you're
yep,
using upstream are similarly licensed.
yep,
Yeah. Oof. Yeah,
yeah,
there's just a lot of concerns when it comes to being even just a senior engineer as opposed to
yeah.
intermediate. There's a lot like the finance. How much does this cost to run? Like N8N on your
Right,
computer probably doesn't cost too much. N8N in the
right.
cloud probably doesn't cost too much. But if you got it set up in Kubernetes to auto replicate whenever
Yeah.
it's full of memory, and then you left a job running that just consumes memory, maybe you're going to
Hmm.
have a
Hmm.
shocker of a bill. Or perhaps
Yeah.
you're calling out to OpenAI way too many times instead of once.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
maybe your freaking system prompt is, yeah, you've probably seen the nightmare system prompts are 300 lines
Oh
long and
yeah.
exhaust all
Yeah.
your tokens. But
Yeah.
so by the time you put your question in, you're out of tokens anyway.
You're-
There's
Right.
just so many things to think about when you're creating a workflow
Yep.
in one of these
Yep.
apps. That, yeah,
And
I
with things like N8N or whatever, it's very easy to have a loop where you do have that, where it's going to go through and just keep.
yes,
I mean, it can run a lot of times in a second and eat up. And I mean, if there are 10 requests to ChatGPT
right,
within a few milliseconds of each other, it's all going to be handled by different resources and bill you just the same.
absolutely.
It's incredible how quickly you can lose a lot of money.
Yeah, would agree. It can be it can be a lot. There's a lot that could go on in what you're doing,
Yeah.
especially and we're talking more about these workflow apps because that's
Right.
to me that's what N8N is. It's kind of a
Sure.
way to define a process or
Right.
a quote unquote program. I'm trying not to say agentic or agent, but it will
Yeah.
define something that can actually adapt to
Right.
things that happened before, and then you have to think about failure modes. Like there's just a
Right.
lot that goes into creating a workflow that works
Yeah.
properly.
And if you are excited about agentic stuff and where it's figuring out the flow dynamically,
Hmm.
I would say 80% of the time that you're doing that, there's probably a better static workflow
Right.
that's going to be far faster, better in every way than something that's more agentic.
Now, have you heard about using chatbots and Gen AI being one of the most popular use cases of the current wave of AI? Have you heard of
Hmm.
this use case?
No.
No?
What do you mean?
Okay. Uh, it seems like that I don't want to say rhetoric, but the common thing people say in terms of use cases for Gen AI seems to be customer service bots on sites.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay. Yeah.
on the one hand, I don't think engineers use those chatbots ever. Maybe they do.
Right.
I would never use one ever.
Yeah.
Some of that is because I feel like the answers are bad, and I
Right.
think some of this pushes to make the answers better. But I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, listen, if Matt and I times 1,000 go to your website, chances are we're all going to ask similar questions at the end of the
Right.
day. And
Yep.
having a chat GPT call for every one of these questions that's
Yeah.
similar but not exactly the same makes me
Yeah.
think about caching. And none of what
Yeah.
I've seen like creates a knowledge base that caches answers or anything like that.
Yeah.
These are net new calls every time, just
Yeah.
racking up a bill for no reason when
Yeah.
like they're really like in the realm of the possible, they're gonna ask like 30 questions. So
Yeah.
instead of setting up guardrails
And so,
for an
yeah,
all-knowing LLM,
the first time you ask a question, great, hand it off to the
cache it.
model,
Yeah.
cache that, put the question in a RAG database, and then do a similarity
Yeah.
search for the question.
Yeah.
If there's a similar question, give it back the standard answer that was already
Yes.
generated.
And to
Review
be fair,
those answers.
yeah. And to
Yeah,
be fair, there are products that do that, but the ones
yeah,
that I've seen definitely don't.
yeah.
And it's just
Well,
like, ugh.
I mean, the great example is Air Canada.
Oh no, oh no, what have they
I
done now?
think we've talked about
I
this.
oh, well, I've told you their motto, right? We're not happy until you're not happy. Sorry, Air Canada. I love you. I
So I
follow
mean,
you all the time.
this the what happened was Air Canada. So a person was flying to attend a funeral.
Okay.
Checks on Air Canada. I think it was Air Canada's. It was a Canadian
Oh,
airline.
oh
Checks
yeah,
if bereavement fares need to be claimed
right,
in advance or
right.
can be done afterwards because he's busy. He's got a lot of stuff to plan for, and
Hmm.
so he's trying to do push it off. Anything he can push off till later, push off
Yeah.
till later. And so he asks the chatbot, gets an answer, and the answer says, "Oh, after you come back from your flight, then you've got 2 weeks to make the claim. Provide this paperwork." And luckily, he basically screenshotted the answer, and then 2 weeks later, he submits the information as was told on the Air Canada website, and Air Canada says, well, that's not our policy. No, you needed to,
Do it beforehand.
submit this beforehand,
Right.
but you've done it wrong. We're not going to give you any money. It's like, well, you told me. It's like, no, we didn't. That was the chatbot. That has nothing to do with us.
And how's
And
this person
and they
supposed to
sued,
know, right? This is so
and
unfair.
they
Yeah, and
sued,
one is my
and
understanding.
they won. They
Yeah.
won, and Air Canada had to pay up.
And I'm sure like Intercom's one of those big ones, for example. I'm sure they
Yeah.
want to point the finger at the Intercom like provider or whatever
Hmm.
chatbot provider, but it's their problem. They've
Yeah.
productionized something that could give bad answers, and it just feels like a bad fit to
Yeah.
me without a human in the loop
Yeah.
looking at the answers and putting
Yeah.
them into that rag and then making sure you hit the rag first before
Right.
you do a live call. But there's a lot more involved in the chatbot. Like even as a human working in a call
Right.
center, we'd have a page because I used to work in a
Right.
call center back in the day, like a page, and you'd have to like, no,
Yeah.
these are the actual, because I worked for
Yeah.
like Thomas Cook and Star Choice and things like that,
Yeah.
and they'd make you read off like the canned answers. And I feel
Yeah.
like this is still important for the model to not necessarily have as like a guideline or some sort of thing in there. Like, no,
Right.
no, you like legit look up this answer and you give that answer. You don't call an
Right.
ABI and spend money. You grab that from Memcached or Redis or whatever it is that you're using.
Yeah.
You send that right back to the client. Don't
Right.
make up policies. This is awful.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did get a comment that K8s is pretty low on
Kate,
resources. K3s is the example. I think you can do Kubernetes and Docker at this point in time as well.
yeah, I
Still,
mean,
you can
K3S is
definitely run
not
out of control.
production.
No.
I mean,
And the
it's
creator will
the
tell you
idea
that.
is
Like,
to create a demo or a kind of
exactly.
environment you can test on
Like a
locally
dev
on your
environment.
machine.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not meant to replace a
Right.
full Kubernetes and doesn't include some there. I feel like or at least there were a few services that aren't in K3S.
Yeah, like the DNS is different, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
maybe not important to anybody else, but it's definitely important
yeah,
to me.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the other one was Kubestate Metrics, which is pretty bloated on its own. Was not included in K3S. It may be
yeah.
now, but last time I checked it wasn't. There's Minikube as well. There's
Sure.
MicroKS. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of these ones that are small.
Right.
Agreed, but I do
Sure.
think most people will still get into trouble even with the small ones.
Yeah. And if you're just running it on a local machine, and really I mean, there's not really much. The benefit is learning about Kubernetes,
Absolutely.
but there's not. I mean, if it's just a platform to orchestrate containers on a single machine, it doesn't really offer you anything over Docker or
Right.
whatever Docker
Or
Podman if you want to use Podman
Portainer,
or
or yeah, there's
Porkstack or
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Harbor. No, Harbor's
Harbor.
for Docker containers.
Hmm. I don't know.
It's been a minute. VMware project from 6 years ago. Hey, it's been a
Hmm.
minute. I think it's
Oh,
CNCF now.
VMware. What's
I know.
that's they who bought them and is like
Qualcomm.
is it Qualcomm? No,
Was it
it's like
Qualcomm or Broadcom? Broadcom.
Broadcom. Yeah,
Yes, Broadcom
yeah.
bought them.
That's
Funnily enough, I have a friend who works for Broadcom, and I've also got a friend who works for HPE, and HPE's
Hmm.
come out with a competitor to VMware,
Oh,
which
okay.
is pretty interesting. So they've got,
Huh.
I'm forgetting what they called it, some HP hypervisor. I'm looking it up. Sorry, I should be saying HPE. My apologies, but yeah, they've got a hypervisor called. Oh man, I can't find it, but it's not like Zen. It's not KVM. It's its own.
Hmm.
Oh, is it just called HPE virtualization? Yeah, I think that is. Yeah,
That's a
there we
boring
go.
name.
I mean, yeah, it does. It says on the team. Interesting. Uh, it does, in fact, look like it is. Yes, HPE virtualization. All right. Oh,
Yeah. Huh.
my bad. But there's a lot going on in these spaces. I
Yeah.
feel like what was the other one from Google that they announced a learning model, like a model that can self improve and learn based on I think it was Gemma 3 and
Hmm.
2.5 Pro, Gemini 2.5 Pro and Gemma 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it uses both models to essentially self-improve. It's not open to the public. It's research
Mm-hmm.
only. It's battened down, but it already came up with a new algorithm that hadn't been changed since 1965.
Hmm.
It was a 4x4 matrices calculations that
Hmm.
just okay. we're
Okay.
we're coming up with new algorithms now. We may
Wow.
be changing the face of computing forever, and no longer be able to like be trusted with the keys to code on
Right.
these platforms as a result. And like,
Right.
yeah, the thing that you loved is it's going away. So it's now's the time, folks. SWE1 is going to steal your chicken. Yeah, work hard.
Yeah.
Uh, Other than that, you sent me some news too. Did you read any of this news?
I I I only. I mean, we talked about the Codex one,
Yeah,
and we talked about SWE. Those were the things that I
big ones.
noted that were looked interesting. But that email is pretty interesting
I
in
would like
that
to hear about it.
it's all kind of automated, and so
Okay.
usually starting this stream, I
Mhm.
remember, even though I know about doing this, it's Tuesday, 2 o'clock. I know that I'm going to do it, and I've kind of got it. I know that I'm going to do it,
You got
and
it
yet
dialed in.
at 1:45, I'd like, oh crap, I didn't schedule the stream, and oh crap, I didn't create the image, the thumbnail for it, and oh crap, I didn't do all these other. I didn't think about
Right.
any ideas. I mean, we still managed to talk about something. But I thought, well, if I can offload all that to something else, that
Right.
would be amazing. And so I ended up creating, and I've had this planned out in my head for a while. I just didn't do it.
Mhm.
And so now I have. Um, so here's my N8N
Oh, there it
setup,
is. Whoa.
and I just have in Stream Prep. I have a something that runs every Thursday, I think it is, at some point in time.
You got to zoom in here. My old eyes are failing me. There we go. Thank you so
So,
much.
so it's got
I'm
a
so
trigger
sorry.
that runs. What is my trigger? It is at 10:15 on Friday. Okay, so it's
I know what your
Friday
trigger is. It's
morning.
people telling you that Bash is better than Fish. Sorry.
um, and then it comes up with a. I've got a bunch of descriptions, like random descriptions for the
Mhm.
show in case we don't have topics, and it picks one of those random descriptions, and then this is. Oh, this one is actually calling a webhook that's on my MacBook Pro to open up Pixelmator to replace the background on our standard thumbnail and
Ooh.
replace the text with the current date, or actually the date on Tuesday. And so that automatically gets set. And then with YouTube, you have to create a broadcast and you have to create a stream, and then you bind the broadcast to the stream.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Um,
Okay.
and I mean, normally the UI, there's just one step,
Oh,
but
it just
with
does.
the
Okay.
API, you need to do these two separate things. And then it grabs the thumbnail that we created, which has now been saved into Dropbox, and sets the thumbnail to the broadcast stream. You can't do it when you create the broadcast or the stream. It needs to be. Uh,
He's checking his watch here. He's like, "Are we out of time?"
no, no, I was
So
trying
there's
to
a
get
few
a.
things in here that are hard coded, right? That if you were to release this workflow to other people, like ignoring the URLs that you're hitting, but there's like the time, the date, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, there's. So I plan on doing a video that talks about this, but I don't
Hmm.
know if sharing the actual workflow is helpful because,
Yes.
well,
Yes.
it's so much
Yes.
depends on
Oh
me.
no. Yeah.
Um, and
Definitely.
so,
Definitely. 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 You can't be the only YouTuber that has to schedule a live stream.
sure,
Can't. It's
Absolutely.
impossible.
And but so
Impossible.
generally this flow should work. And actually this one where I'm actually calling opening up Pixelmator from,
Right.
so this is running on my N8N server that's on Hostinger, I don't know,
Hmm.
in Phoenix, I think. And it's making a webhook call to my laptop that's running inside my house. But because they're both on Tailscale, it doesn't have to think about
Right.
hard
It's on like a
networking.
local network,
It's a
quote unquote.
local network. And so then, but really that should probably be ImageMagick that does that edit. Give it the base materials, put a
Oh.
background, slap the standard image on top
I'm
of
trying
it,
to think.
and
What
then
did AWS call their image magic? Oh, what was that thing? Oh shoot. It's like image manipulation. Like
oh
you can
yeah,
put it in Lambda, but
yeah.
AWS has like an image manipulator program.
And
That
then
is
this thing
I think
on
this is really cool.
Monday and Tuesday morning, and Tuesday at 1:45, it sends out a calls YouTube to figure out what is the next stream on my account, and then it sends out a uh, send this execute workflow is actually sending it or opening up a workflow that says here's this base text. If It's going to send it on Twitter and Threads and Blue Sky and
Oh,
Mastodon.
that's pretty
But
handy.
because if I mention and I use that workflow in lots of other things as well. If in that workflow I say N8N, well
Hmm.
on Twitter N8N is at N8N underscore IO. On
Oh, right, it's
Threads,
different.
it's something a little bit different.
Yeah,
On
yeah.
Mastodon, it's just a hashtag. And so it goes, and for each one of these uh, platforms, it replaces N8N with the correct text for that platform and then sends out the message,
That is really cool.
which is pretty cool. What else
Now,
is
now
there?
you had like an orphan button at the top there. Is that what does that do? Sorry, having never used N8N before, I was slightly confused. Yeah, this
It
one.
doesn't do anything. I
Okay.
put it there and then I forgot it's there until
Oh,
you just
okay,
mentioned
gotcha.
it.
My apologies.
It doesn't do, yeah, it doesn't do anything.
Because it says
I
when
think,
speaking test workflow, and I was looking through, I don't see any test workflow.
yeah, I think I was, before I was doing this, I was just kind of attaching it to there and
Oh,
then
so you could click on it and
so I
to
could
start
click
it.
on it and yeah,
Gotcha. Well, that
but
seems
I
like a
don't
pretty
really need that.
handy technique, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
that actually sounds handy, though.
So I'm going to leave without saving. And then what else is there? Oh, topic ideas. So um, I think it is Friday and Monday, it it gets the news, and it gets this from it goes up to my uh, searching website,
Yep.
SEARXNG.
XING. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, and grabs it does a search for I've got like 6 different topic areas, grabs all that stuff, and then formats that into something nice, and then sends it out on Gmail to me and you. And then this add topics to description is not really done yet, but if
Hmm.
you or me
Right.
respond to that email with a line item that
Oh.
says we want to talk about, maybe windsurf new model,
Right. Right. Right.
it will potentially automatically add that to the description for the uh, it will eventually to the description for the YouTube stream, which is pretty cool.
That is amazing. Yeah, there's one thing that I forgot about that I could have replied to that email. It's like Microsoft is trying to add MCP servers to Windows,
Oh
which
yeah,
scares me.
yeah, yeah,
But there were announcements over the weekend that I could have replied to. That's really cool.
yeah. So actually, that social media one,
Hmm.
where it posts everywhere now, um,
Whoa.
when executed by a another workflow, or it could be executed as a webhook, it will call this multiply posts. So actually, multiply posts is
Oh, we've gone full enterprise here. We've got folders,
um,
subfolders,
yeah. Where was post multiplier?
multiplier. Oh, now you're into
Um,
naming conventions too. Oh
no,
no.
that's not it. That's not it. I don't know where I put that. Um, But
Multiply.
anyway,
Can you spell it for it?
there's a workflow that will do what I basically said before, where it
Multiplex, yeah.
multiplies it out.
D- Does that search
Yeah,
work at the top if you type in multiple?
yeah, yeah. Post
Posting,
multiplier.
post threads.
Oh, there it
There's
is.
one. I think that's the one you were
Uh,
just looking at, though.
yeah, it. I guess this can't. Oh no, this is actually right.
That's it. Okay.
Um, so it will take in the post that you
Hmm.
provide it. It will get the destinations, and when I get the destinations, let's go ahead and execute this. It over here I can see okay all the at names. So if you see the word windsurf on Threads, replace it with at windsurf AI. On Blue Sky, if you see Docker, replace that with docker.com. But Tailscale is tailscale.com, and windsurf is windsurf.bsky.social. Um,
They didn't. Wait,
and
wait,
then
wait, wait. Don't they have to like? What's that called? Verify. They haven't verified on Blue Sky. That's the default.
yeah, yeah, I don't
So
know.
weird. Maybe they're waiting
Um,
for the rename.
hashtags. If you see the word Olama uh, on Blue Sky or on Threads, then they become hashtags. But on X or Twitter, it becomes an at Olama. So it does all that type of stuff, and then this basically just replaces the original text with, does a search and replace.
That is cool.
Um, yeah. So these are some of my workflows, and this is great. And in fact, if I
I mean, listen, just call these agents and start making bank. As far as I can
yeah,
tell.
so one thing that I do with so on generate 10 social posts. So um, in Obsidian, I can open up
Hmm.
Obsidian, and for any of my scripts, I can. I've got a plugin called Webhook, Post Webhook, I think it's called, and it will just basically take the whole script and post it to a webhook somewhere,
Hmm.
and it will post. I have it configured to post to here, and what this does is it will. Um, what does this do? Oh, this sends it to Olama. Originally, I was using the AI agent to Olama, but um, because N8N uses LangChain, Olama just doesn't. I mean, LangChain with Olama is just screwed up. So I have to make a call to Olama using the API instead, which is super easy. So I
Hmm.
do that call, and then yeah, because in with the AI agent, if you want to output a specific format, you have to use a model that supports tools.
Right.
But there's no reason to do that. You don't need to have any model can output JSON
Right.
without being tools. So I have it do that, and then it splits out all the 10 tweets, adds them to a Postgres database as posts that haven't been approved yet, and then sends it me a Telegram notice saying, "Hey, there's stuff to approve," with a button to go and approve it. And then I've got a simple UI that I created in Windsurf, I think, that will allow me to approve or edit, and then post right away, or post, add it to my list of things later on. So yeah,
Very cool.
it's really neat what I've got set up now.
Now that Postgres is at Neon. There was sorry, you just reminded me of a whole bunch of news. So Neon, I think, got bought for $1 billion by
Oh yeah.
Databricks. Or
So
you
what
is this
is Neon?
Neon is I want to say serverless Postgres, but let's just say hosted Postgres.
Okay. Um, how's that compared to like a Supabase?
I think they are competitors. That's my
Okay.
understanding. Is that Neon and
But
Supabase are
Supabase is
competitors?
also a hosted Postgres, right? With the
Correct.
fancy front end.
Yeah, and of the companies to purchase for $1 billion, I would have assumed Supabase would have
Right.
been the
Right.
target for acquisition, and maybe they tried and failed.
Yeah.
Uh, I think the last time somebody bought a Postgres company was Citus DB from
Right.
Microsoft, but that was 6 years ago now,
Yeah.
maybe 7.
It's interesting that so many acquisitions happen where they try to get the best company. It
Right.
doesn't work, so they find the second best company.
Right.
I remember that happened with Google. I mean, first Google tried to acquire Datadog. That didn't work out, and so they acquired, who was it?
Stack Driver,
Stackdriver. Yeah.
I think. I wasn't aware of that history. Now I
Okay.
know. But
Yeah.
I do remember them buying Stack Driver, and I do
Yeah.
remember trying to use Stack Driver. So
Yep.
I know it's got to be the second, third, or fourth choice. No offense
Yeah.
to the Stack Driver team, but it's not the
Yeah. Well,
same.
and they never really blended it into what Google was offering,
I think they just
and
changed the offering to something else because
yeah,
it was always it
it
felt
was,
felt kind of tacked
and
on. And
everybody I had talked to who worked at Stackdriver during the acquisition, they all left as soon as they could because, like,
oh shoot,
we don't like where we are.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah,
that kind of sucks,
but
unfortunately.
yeah,
In the good news, have you been watching TV, YouTube, listening to music? What have you been up to?
TV.
Ha- Have
I
have you touched
started a
grass? Have you been
new.
outside?
I have.
I mean, it's been raining.
I
I'm joking because it was raining all long weekend for us, which is terrible.
oh, okay.
And I realize your long weekend is next weekend. I hope it does not rain. I don't
Hmm.
mean to wish that upon you.
So over the weekend we did go out for some walks,
Nice.
but I don't remember where.
Did you
And
touch any grass, or was there grass?
huh?
Yeah. Did you physically touch grass? Yeah.
Oh, I did
I'm
touch
teasing you.
grass.
I'm teasing you.
And but I started watching The Lincoln Lawyer
Oh, I think I've seen an episode
on
of that.
Netflix.
It was
It's really
surprisingly
good.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got that guy in it. That
I've
you
never
know his
seen this
name.
guy before.
Ah, shoot. Is it Angus Sampson or Manuel Garcia Rolfo? I think that might be it. Is the
I've never
This is him.
I don't think
I
I've ever the only
I also had
person
not.
I had seen, this guy comes on screen and there's like, in the first season there's the attorney, the district attorney is being they're voting on who the new district attorney is, and they vote out the person who was in, this woman who was already in, and this other guy, Bob, whatever, gets voted in instead. And I'm looking at this guy who plays Bob. It's like, I've seen this person in something. And it was Tony Almeida in 24,
Oh,
but
interesting.
much older.
There's quite a few actors in here who I've never seen before,
Yeah.
which is cool. That's not a bad thing. I think this is
Yeah.
actually a good thing. I do like British TV where they use people who act
Hmm.
well as opposed to just
Yeah.
just based on
Yeah.
looks or what have you. I like that because you get a better acting experience out of it.
Yep. But then you see the same person as 15 very different people in the course of, a short period of time if you're looking at reruns and stuff.
Also true.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
which is interesting. You're not a different approach. Yeah.
This seems really cool.
So that's something I've been watching, and then we just finished Andor.
Oh, did you cry?
No, I don't see how. I don't know of any. I mean, we watched all of it, and I can't find any point where it was like cry worthy, even for. I mean, I couldn't. I couldn't understand that comment.
It has to be a joke. It has to be a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
I
and
mean,
for
the
those
first.
who have not been watching the last 3 episodes, so I think it was Riley at Tech Tips from Linus Tech Tips
Okay.
that just made this joke that he cried in the last episode, and it's season 2, and I took it at face value because I assumed
Yeah,
maybe it got emotional, maybe there are some very big Star Wars fans and
yeah.
it's important to them how the series I don't know does something, but I can't see myself crying at a Star Wars movie, and
Right.
I'm happy to cry. Like airplane movies get me all the time.
Yeah.
I think whatever that dog one was really got me, but I can't see Star Wars being the thing that's gonna,
Yeah.
yeah,
No.
tearjerker.
And I don't. I feel like they should have. They shouldn't
Marley
have
and Me.
done.
Do not watch Marley and Me on an
Oh
airplane.
yeah,
Sorry,
Marley and
for a
Me.
second.
Yeah. There's
Or A Dog's
another
Life.
dog movie where it's
A
like
Dog's Life.
following the dog through multiple lives of the dog,
Oh.
and it's like that's kind of a tearjerker
Oh, A Dog's
for
Purpose.
anyone.
Sorry, I think I was saying it wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, as a dog person as well. Yeah, it's just who works at a dog company. Matt used to
Right.
as well. Like it's bad. Yeah.
But with Andor, I feel like instead of 12 episodes, they should have made it six because the first six episodes were like pointless. They like
Oh,
nothing happened. Even if you watch all six all at once, like
right.
okay, that's all that was pointless. It
Okay,
was
so let's assume you wrote like a series one. We'll quickly role play this. Matt is now the
yeah,
showrunner of Andor. So you're done
yeah,
season one. Was
yeah.
there anything in season two, the first six episodes, where you're trying to like close loops or button
I
stuff
don't feel
up, or
like
is
it.
it just
No.
they're just padding it? So sometimes
Yeah.
you can tell, and again, this is maybe me being a little bit pessimistic. Sometimes you can tell by looking at the writers on those episodes and realizing
Mm-mm.
that they've picked. Again, rest in peace. But like, if you got the person in Mandalorian writing like comedy,
Right. Right.
it's not going to be good. You can tell they're scraping the bottom of the barrel
Yeah.
just to get the episodes out there. Or like the
Yeah.
last season of Game of Thrones, I think it was, where there was a Starbucks
Mm.
coffee. Like you could tell they were just mailing it in. They picked the B or C crew to like we can make even
Yeah.
more money actually. Like somebody wanted more money,
Yeah.
I cut them. Next.
They spent. I saw. Apparently it took a long time to produce, like two
Okay.
years, and I'm not sure if they were talking about just season two or season two with season one, but they spent $645 million producing this show.
That's like movie territory, is it
Oh
not?
yeah,
Okay. Wow.
and then this is
That's like
the
more than
basically
half a
the
billion dollars. Like that's a
yeah
lot of money.
yeah, and
Wow.
this is the prequel to Rogue One, I think. And
Okay, which
so
I
last
did
night,
like. I think you didn't. I
yeah,
did, but yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to remember if there was one of them that I thought was a waste.
It,
Solo I
it,
thought was
it,
great,
is it
and
all the
as
movies
Rogue
with
One I
female
thought,
protagonists? Is this have we found you? That's
yeah,
the problem. I just
I
teased
can't
you.
remember
But
which one it
I,
was,
I
but
liked it because it
but
felt like there were
anyway,
4 or 5 main characters, which I can understand
yeah,
would really bother people.
the the we started watching it and Rogue One, and it was really interesting how well the ending, because you think the ending of Andor is like, oh, kind of a weird place to end. I wish they could continue, or I wish they could be a second, a third season. But then you watch Rogue One, it's like, oh, it is Rogue One is episode 13 of season two, or it is
Oh,
season
it's like
three. I mean,
identical. It
it
ends on the
is, yeah, and all
cliffhanger.
the same character, same actors are playing all the same parts, and it was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
I like it when they do that. They follow
Yeah,
like the canon or
yeah,
the syntax, like the grammar
yeah,
of the
yeah,
episodes. Yeah, that's really cool.
yeah.
I was looking around and thinking, the only thing that I got new is old. So have you heard about the Sony WM1000X6? I think is the right
Is that the
term for
new
it.
version, the new
Yeah,
one
the
that
new
just came out?
wireless headset. Yeah. So what
Yeah.
I did was I went out and bought the old version. So I got the
Oh,
four
okay.
for $300 less.
Yeah.
And you know what? Well, they fold is the biggest reason I got them,
Mhm.
and so do the new sixes, but the fives don't. I
Okay.
got them right here. They're these are for
Mhm.
those of you listening. I'm showing off a headset. This drives me up the wall because they don't fold. Who does this?
Oh,
So these are the fives. The sixes do fold.
okay.
I'll keep the fives just to put them in there.
Yeah.
But this is an expensive headset,
Yeah.
but it does noise canceling really well.
Yeah.
And I think the fours are better than the fives. The sixes
Mhm.
maybe even better, but I don't
Yeah.
need Amazon Alexa built into a headset.
No.
I'll start
No.
there. I'm not sure I need ChatGPT built into my glasses. Like
No.
at some point, I just want an offline device, but I have been
Yeah.
looking at those Meta Ray Bans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah, is that what you were thinking? Yeah,
I,
they look like
I
they're
think those
way
look.
loaded. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if they
yeah,
can get
they look okay.
that integration good, but the metas, they don't provide feedback on the glass, right? Or do they?
Not yet. I think they've got another version that does, but
Yeah.
I think they're shipping them with 3.2, which is what I'm actually like offline 3.2 in a pair of glasses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll take
Yeah.
that. That's actually pretty handy.
But if I could walk down the street and remind there's one guy I see often, as we're walking along, and
I
and
have
every
not
time I'm
introduced you to
like,
Black Mirror, but this
what
sounds like that.
what is this guy's name? And he's told me his name like a dozen
Of
times, and
of
yet
course.
I'm like going through. Nebuchadnezzar. No, that's not it. It's something. It's like a biblical name, and it's like
Gorganesh.
yeah, and none of them come right. I know exactly what he does. I just don't
Snuffleupagus.
remember his name.
Just one of those long, long names.
I think it might be short. It might be Lionel,
Okay.
or
Oh, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, call
but
him
I
that
don't.
next
It
time.
could be something else.
I don't use people's names when I talk to them, which is good and bad. It means that I never
Yeah,
remember their names. It feels a little bit patronizing, like, "Hey, Matt, how you doing today, Matt? What do you think, Matt?"
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
people who keep using your name. On the
yeah,
other hand, when someone's told you their name repeatedly and you still
yeah,
don't remember it, I
yeah,
feel awful.
yeah.
And they say the trick is as soon as they tell you, use it back once,
Use
twice.
it back. Have a like a visual thing
Mnemonic
to
device.
match up.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
some way to bring it up as
Um,
a memory easily. Yeah.
and so Ryan, say Ryan, and then have in the back of your minds like hipster Ryan. Okay, and then maybe
Yeah,
that
I'm
is
thinking in
what's
my
gonna
head
stick.
because I'll meet Matt, and as I'm walking away, I'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm going this way," and Matt will say, "Oh yeah, I'm taking the subway that way." And then Matt
Yeah,
will realize actually the subway is the same way. He'll be walking behind me. I'll be talking to my
yeah.
Ray-Bans, be like, "That's tall Matt. Please remember tall Matt." Like I'm sure it'd be way more embarrassing than that because my brain doesn't work in
Right,
that way. But
right,
I'm
right.
totally coming up with some brain dead mnemonic
Right.
device that would be completely embarrassing.
Yeah,
People around me, like already talking to
yeah,
ChatGPT, walking down the street, talking
yeah.
about Expo or Astro and JS and NPM and all this stuff. They look at me like, "Come on, tech bro! Like,
Yeah.
we know what's going on here. You're chatting with ChatGPT, like you just
Those
walking
people
down
who
the
walk
street."
down the street wearing the Vision Pro or whatever. Oh, come
I've
on.
yet to see that, but I have seen people with the Sonys, and that's what I was thinking. Like, I
Yeah,
don't even know if I'd leave the house
yeah,
in AirPods Max. Like, that just
yeah,
feels like a lot, and it feels like
yeah.
someone could just come up and snatch it off my head. Like, there's a
Right,
handle right there. Yoink.
right.
That
So
this is where I'm
I was I used to be at the point where I was buying, that kind. When the AirPods Pro came out, I no longer bought big headphones.
Yeah,
Um,
I use them
but
religiously,
but
unfortunately.
but before, yeah, I mean, I would definitely have bought. I have lots of headphones that I have, over ear headphones.
Right.
But I was traveling so much, and you know, before Datadog, a few jobs before. I mean, I was 90% travel, so I was on a lot of
What?
17-hour flights. Um, I
90%?
I was doing probably
I didn't know that. That's a lot.
I probably did 10 flights a year that were 17 plus hours.
Wow.
Because I used to go to Australia from Amsterdam. I'd go to Australia 5 times a year. I go to Dubai
Wow.
5 or 6 times a year,
Wow.
Singapore 5 times a year,
Those are long
U.S.
flights,
probably
folks.
eight times a
If you've
year.
never flown this long, 17 hours sounds like a
Yeah,
long time, then compounded by the
yes,
amount of flights. And imagine Matt's brain be like, "Oh, this again."
yeah. So
What amount of money can I waste on headphones that will make this more
yeah,
enjoyable?
exactly, exactly. And you may get like the Bose when Bose switched from
That's what I'm replacing.
rechargeable to
Yeah.
when they replaced it from like batteries you stuck in.
Right.
I hated that
Yeah.
because I mean, on a
They run
17
out.
hour flight, 10
Yep.
hours is dead, and
Yep.
now you're screwed.
Yeah, I can bring infinite AAs with me. Well,
Yeah,
not infinite. I
yeah,
think TSA gets
yeah,
angry at a certain point, but
yeah,
you can at least bring four easily.
yeah.
Eh, but agreed. Yeah, I think they had double A's that you could just pop into the side. They were a little bit
Right.
heavier
Yeah,
as a result, but yeah, I
yeah,
think that was a better move. I'm
yeah.
waiting for the user replaceable. Oh shoot, I just dropped the name, but it's like oh shoot, LifePo 4, the same as the vape
Mm,
batteries. So they're kind of like
yeah,
A's or maybe a little bit longer,
yeah,
but they're safer and also they last longer, which is great.
yeah.
And lighter. Like there's a whole bunch of improvements here, and
Right.
I'm hoping that we get back to the era of rechargeable batteries that are
Hmm.
user serviceable, as
Yeah.
opposed to my device is trash now. Like I
Right.
got like
Yeah.
legit got to throw it out. It's useless. That's
Yeah.
yeah, this can't be good. Like I'm
Yeah.
looking at my keyboard
Devices
instead
where
of rechargeable device. Like these are nah. It,
yeah,
this
or even devices where the cord is permanently attached.
oh hate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Awful, awful.
Yeah.
Before we go, I get taken to task. So I think I've mentioned this before. I take portraits once in a while.
Oh yeah.
I shoot in a studio, but I should be precise in that this is my best friend's studio that I mooch off
Hmm.
of, the one who works at HPE. And I was
Hmm.
coiling some cables the other day, cleaning up the studio as a
Mm.
nice studio mooch will do. And it turns out I'm coiling my cables wrong. So I don't want to tell you how I'm coiling them, but I did want to ask how you coil yours. Because this was like, I think it's something someone taught me years ago, and I'd forgot or internalized and stopped doing.
So
How do you?
you
Yeah.
do one loop there, and
Yep.
then you do another loop, kind of revert. I can't say it, but kind of
Ah.
like flip it round so that
Okay.
it stays, so all the threads inside stay continuous.
Right. And the problem with what I do, which is like wrap it around my hand and then fold it over again and put stuff on it,
Right.
is that the cables bend in the same spot everywhere. So for the
Right.
people on the call who may have many cables, this does
Yeah.
seem like a way to enhance the longevity of your cable. So my understanding is you're supposed to go with it's quote unquote grain, but the cable will feel right if you're doing it the right way. And
Yeah.
in many cases, the way that you bought it is probably that right way, and it will just
So
follow on its own. But don't force it. Yeah, exactly what you
yeah.
did there.
So it's like
Yeah,
that, and then there's like this. Wait, is there's
I
some?
think you had it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think like
yeah, I think you
that,
had it.
and then
Yeah,
like that, and then
yeah.
like there's like a
We're
looping,
learning.
or
Yeah,
you can just like feel when it feels natural, like
and
kind
then
of
pop it in. Yeah.
twist it until it feels natural and it just goes.
Yeah, and
Otherwise, you're
this is the
breaking
case
it.
that some studio lights do have, in fact, attached cables. So this is actually really important. And we were
Hmm.
doing power cables, like essential cables, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's totally fine. Anyway, figured I'd drop that hint as we were talking
yeah,
about cables and batteries because yeah, it blew my mind yet again, and I know I had to relearn it, but here we are.
right.
All right, I think
Um,
that's all I got for
uh,
content.
so
Yeah, what else you
I
got?
I have one
Yep.
thing. I'm gonna make a video about this because it's
Oh,
so great. There
okay.
is a piece of software that I found
Oh,
called
Windows Recall. Windows Recall. No,
no. It's the problem is it's such a bad name.
we are in
Um,
the era of bad names yet again. So we've got another land rush for people to grab naming rights, and it's just all over the place.
um,
This is one of those
we're just
problems,
gonna have to
right?
wait for. We're gonna have to
Naming
wait
is hard.
for
Is it
the.
Agentivity? Is that what you're playing around with?
No, no. It's the repo is it's on GitHub, and the repo name is called Webhook.
Oh, but why?
Um, so because it's let's see
Ugh.
if I go to and do a search for webhook.
Is the company
Um,
name Webhook?
is no, it's the it's Adnan H.
Adnan A.
So
It's also a very common name as well.
yeah, so ADNANH
Yeah,
slash webhook.
I am there.
Um, and this is amazing. So you install it. You can install it on your Linux box, your
Oh,
Mac, your
that's so
Windows
awesome.
machine,
Yeah.
and then you now it's available as a webhook as long as you can access this machine, and then that webhook will run any script.
Do you remember when webhooks used to be a big thing?
They're not
This is from that era. No, this is from 10 years ago. 2017, if it feels like right around this era, everything was
yeah,
webhooks. Remember, like having webhook integration in Datadog was like a massive deal.
right.
I'm sure you remember. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So this
People
will just
forget.
run any
People
script,
forget
and this is great.
technology. Yeah, this looks
Well, I mean,
fantastic.
I think webhooks are still a big deal in N8N, so I'd say they're just as important if you're dealing with that.
Absolutely. Like, listen, if we're
So,
talking about MCPs and things like that, I prefer to
mm,
use something secure. And but I think we've talked about this before. You can set up an MCP in an insecure way and a secure way.
yep,
And it
yep.
feels like most of the time the insecure way is what people are going with. So they're not using, I think SSE is what I'm trying to think of
Mm,
is the issue. At any rate, Microsoft including MCP in the operating system makes me see all types of red flags. This looks
right.
awesome. I'd rather
So
have an
this
OS
lets you
webhook, right?
Yeah, this lets you set up the webhook and then only respond if it's got a secret and it's got other things in
That's
the
phenomenal.
payload. And yeah, it's amazing.
Awesome. And this is written in Go, and the last release
Yep.
was in October from last year, so it's still
Yeah.
active.
Still
And it
active.
runs on
But yeah,
FreeBSD. Look at that.
and
OpenBSD.
it's 10 years. 10 years ago, the oldest
Yes.
commit.
Yes.
So it doesn't look like Windows has been updated. Oh no, there's still Windows
Yeah.
stuff that's been updated
Yeah.
recently.
They
It does not
support,
have a install for Windows, but you can just compile on Windows and it works.
well, they
Um,
support Windows 386, which is amazing. So I know that's a
yeah,
bit of a misnomer, but what they're saying is
yeah,
X32. That
yeah,
is fantastic. Can you
yeah.
imagine Windows 95? Like I could get Paint to do something based on a webhook? Oh, phenomenal.
So yeah, I found this like that. This is what allows me to, from my server up in the cloud,
I was wondering about that.
initiate a process to run to edit a Pixelmator image in Pixelmator on my desktop.
This is
So
fantastic.
yeah, and then the
Right on.
only other purchase that I will make at some point is, will I do the Mac Studio, or the only thing
A
I'm
new
holding
car.
off on.
A new car.
Well, yeah, there's that. Or do I hold off? Is there going to be a Mac Pro with the M4 Ultra? Or
Right.
yeah, and so I'm just waiting until WWDC or WD whatever it's called.
Yeah. WWDC, the
Yeah.
Worldwide Developer Conference. I think we should
Yes.
be sending someone there. We
Oh,
help with
okay.
iOS apps now. There should be at least a
Yeah.
booth there. Please say hi
Yeah.
if you go. Um, but are you not waiting for an M4 Ultra laptop? Because that's where I'm at. Like I could get this, or I could get that. You can't get the same amount of
I don't.
memory, but you can get the amount that I want, which is like 256.
Right.
You know
Will they
what I'm
put
talking?
Ultra in a laptop?
That's what I'm thinking. Will they? They got it
I don't
right.
think so.
Come on, come on.
I don't think
That's
so.
what I want. All aluminum. The a whole case of
Yeah.
aluminum. It's orange now.
So it's like getting one of those tadpole laptops that was the RISC chip.
Oh, okay. Funny story. I
Dual
physically
dual
touched.
RISC.
Yeah. Well, I didn't physically touch one. I know someone who physically touched a tablet. How's
Yeah.
that? But it was a Sun Solaris laptop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason I'm so excited about someone else having touched it is like it's so not a lot of people have seen this
Yeah.
device
No.
in their lives. But it was like an Elecom, like a massive laptop. So something
Yeah. Oh,
similar
yeah.
to who sells them now? System 76, I think, resells
Mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
same sort of laptops, a little
Yep.
bit chunky. I really wanted a tadpole. It had a little it had a ball on it as well, a ball
Yeah.
nose,
Yeah.
which again I still think's great. Sorry, we're way over time, but have you played with Meshtastic before? Or
So
LoRaWAN?
that's another. Yeah. So with like the radio for
Yeah,
sending text
because there's like
messages and
a
stuff.
fake BlackBerry that's using like third-party BlackBerry
Yeah.
scroll wheels, but there's a Meshtastic
That
PDA
looks
that looks like a
amazing.
BlackBerry that my
I was
friend
just
that they're
watching a video
feedback
about
on.
it this
They're
morning. Yeah. Like
amazing. They're so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I've
This
mostly
is the
seen them
cyber
as
future I wanted.
Yeah, I've mostly seen them as like devices that pair with your phone. But
Yeah,
now
like
that
an
you mention it, I
SB32.
do remember that
Yeah,
old BlackBerry style.
yeah.
Not old, but I mean, yeah,
I mean, it's new, but
it,
it definitely looks
yeah,
old. And I think
yeah,
some of the displays will run EN, can be low power, and
right.
be just little
Man,
SB32 devices. But
I,
this one has a
I
battery and a radio and stuff.
so
It's awesome.
I feel like I feel like I should get one
Yeah,
because it as my duty to the
right.
family, and it's
That's
required to
great.
get, because we live on an island.
Exactly.
So actually, um, there are
I think our network goes
disaster.
down to just above Bainbridge, just not to tease you, but it's like it's
Huh?
the island above you is where my network, the one that the Meshtastic that's in
Oh
Vancouver
yeah.
that extends into Washington, goes to
Okay.
the island just above yours. So you could
Okay. Like
probably extend it
Vashon
down to your
or
island.
no
I
Vashon
can't
or
remember.
Whitby.
I think Whidbey,
Yeah.
actually. I think it is
Yeah.
Whidbey. Because I saw it on the map, but it doesn't go all the way into Seattle, unfortunately. It's like it's missing a repeater or something to go there.
So for disaster preparedness, there's like
Right.
apparently a book that most communities will follow
Right.
to figure out how to make sure that they're ready for whatever disaster comes, because FEMA or whoever is not going to be a bit around to support them.
Right.
The person who wrote the book lives on Bainbridge and
The
is like the
Peterson.
person who sets up the
How do we
Bainbridge
Irish now?
preparedness.
The Peterson who
Um,
wrote the book.
so
That's cool.
so because I mean, this is a place where we could. There's one bridge that goes on and off the island.
Right.
That bridge could. I mean, that bridge was built in the '60s or '70s.
You saw
It
what
could
happened to
easily,
Brooklyn Bridge just recently, yeah?
yeah. It could
Boat crash under it, yeah.
collapse, and then we are cut off from driving on, cargo driving onto the island.
Right.
There's still boats, but if there's a disaster that's big enough that knocks out the bridge, it's probably going to knock out the docks where the ferries come in, and
Right.
so potentially get cut off from any supplies other than
Right.
helicoptered in for weeks or months. And so there's a strong effort for all families to be prepared for whatever disaster effect comes in. So we've got,
Right.
food for, I think, for the three of us for a month, in
That's pretty
like
good. Yeah.
uh, uh, metal pack, not metal, but the foil packets.
Mhm.
Water in the large. We have these 20-gallon jugs of water. I think there's
Now, some of
24 of
you,
them
like,
in
in
our
the chat may
garage.
be thinking Matt's a prepper or something, but
No,
actually,
no,
like, as
this
an
is like
islander,
basic.
yeah, I think as an islander,
Yeah.
this is actually really important.
We have like an axe to chop down fallen down trees, and all the things that a first aid, a multiple first aid kits, just in case something,
Right.
including splint kits and all sorts of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and there's so much more we need to prepare for just in case, like getting
Just the
one of those
basics,
big
right? Yeah.
batteries
Mhm.
that you have, or that you tried to buy that you
Had
didn't get.
had to
Yeah,
return.
you got the refill, but not the whole thing.
I'm
Um,
still looking at one of those. I still like
yeah,
it, like in my
yeah,
car or in the
Jackery,
basement or
or
something. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Because a
yeah,
lot of the things that we need, in fact, if you're getting a message
right,
from some emergency response or the radio, you need a
right,
battery, and at some point in time,
yeah.
they'll
So
die.
all this leading to those Meshtastic networks means
Hmm.
that our phone. I mean, if we're cut off and like there's some major earthquake, so earthquakes could happen from because there's earthquakes, but there's also the biggest active volcano in the U.S. is
Hmm.
60 miles away, and so that could blow up. It's apparently like 60 years overdue on its regular cycle, and so that will cause lots of problems. And so we'll have no way of contacting the outside world
Correct.
other
Right.
than there are uh, every neighborhood has a station where that is the
The muster
kind of
station.
the message bank. Everybody sends
Ah,
messages. It's CB radios and all that.
yeah, I was about
But
to mention
something like this
CB. Yeah.
Meshtastic would be
Hmm.
amazing for being able to still get contact to the outside world. Um, and because they're so low power, it makes total sense to at least get one, maybe a few of those.
Yeah. So this came to mind because the project you're looking at, Webhooks, is sponsored by Open Collective, and I
Oh,
saw that
okay,
logo recently, and happened to know that they also sponsor Meshtastic, and the company that I
right,
work for, that you used to work for, also sponsors Meshtastic,
right,
as well
okay,
as I think Primeagen would call it Tercel or Vercel for the rest of us,
uh huh,
and DigitalOcean. Yeah, so they're actually
huh,
big enough that they've got some pretty cool sponsors, and it's a pretty neat project actually. The more I play around with it, the more impressed I am.
yeah. So you have one of these Meshtastic
I do, in fact.
devices?
I would get up and get it, but I'm not wearing pants. No, I'm joking. It's just over on the windowsill over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do, and sometimes they'll send messages through on, I think it's called Channel Zero, which is like the public broadcast, so you can
Uh
see
huh.
it. And the last message we got went all the way to Ontario and back, which is pretty cool. So the
Mm.
network is seems to be spilling across Canada, but it hasn't really gone
Hmm.
south of the border too much. And I'm sure just like that in the states, the network is getting closer and closer to the border, but hasn't spilled into Canada
So
yet. So we're not going to be your
if
51st state just yet, but we're getting
yeah.
there.
So does every device? I mean, if you are like the last device on like outside of the network, now the network
Yep.
has gone a little bit further. And
Right.
do all messages go through? All messages can go through you, or what's?
Can, but don't necessarily. But the public broadcast, like the channel zero, ring zero, whatever they call it,
Mhm.
is public across all of them. So every device will
Mhm.
get that message as part of a mesh contributor.
Mm.
But you can add your own. I think they're called channels on top of that. Like I've got a
Mm.
channel that's my own private with the studio friend. But also we could have a different one. I got another dive buddy who's over there. Yeah.
And then are they? Could they also be hooked up to the internet while the internet's working and route through that?
Yes, but I think only MQTT is what they wrote over the internet.
Okay.
That's it. So you could have it receive
Mm.
MQTT on the internet and then send something on that network,
Right.
or you can opt out. You can do both,
Mm.
but that's
That's
up
pretty
to you.
cool.
So that's your network as opposed to
Right.
the big
Right.
network. I think.
Okay.
I'm just getting started. So
This
again,
is
correct me.
I
Yeah,
I'm
engagement challenge.
and they're not expensive. right?
No, we're talking like $80.
Yeah.
And you're in the States, you can still order them from Alibaba or Taobao while you
Yeah.
can. But right now, yeah, you can hop on AliExpress. They'll ship to you. I
Okay.
think $70 will get you the BlackBerry, like the full
Yeah.
singing dancing one. For $20, I think you can get like an SP32 with an antenna
Yeah.
and no case, but
Yeah.
you can start playing around with it.
Yeah.
And you can attach it to Raspberry Pi over USB and do power and
Hmm.
serial over the same plug, which is nice. You can get a hat for a Pi if you want. Pretty cool.
Wow.
I'm very
That's
impressed.
awesome.
Sorry, we went way over, but yeah, Mesh
Yeah,
Tastic's
yeah,
pretty
no,
neat.
I mean this Smashtastic. I keep seeing them every now and then and think I should. And just talking through the disaster preparedness, I have
Yeah.
now set it in my head. I have now justified it, and I can do it.
Yeah, so I think even just getting a small little antenna battery powered one
Yeah,
that you plop on your roof should be enough. And you can
yeah.
talk to it from your phone in the house and everybody else can hit it.
Oh,
Yeah, so you can have like like a one on your roof and one in your home, and the one in your home can like pair to your roof and pair to your phone, and it becomes this whole thing. It's pretty neat.
oh,
So
that's cool.
it's like
So
a
it's not
Wi-Fi mesh,
just one
except it's
device.
over LoRa. No. It's a whole mesh, and you can have your mesh that connects to somebody else's mesh, which is the cool part.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've got a
So
mesh
I
of
mean, when I
one,
get it, do I
it's easy
automatically
math,
become
right?
part of the mesh?
If you can see the rest of it, yeah,
Oh,
cool, eh?
okay, I'm buying.
But I'd love to get your feedback on the setup because I thought I don't want to prime you, but I thought it was actually
It's
really
not.
good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, this is gonna be awful. And I watched my friend do it. Like, you're like,
Right.
no, this guy is gonna mess this up, and I'm gonna laugh so hard because like
Yeah.
SP32s aren't easy, and just wait till you get into the C
Yeah.
code. And like, no, none of that. It was awesome. He was using like
Wow.
the keyboard via flasher. It looked just like
Yeah.
via flasher. I swear it was a fork
Mm.
to flash it, and then I booted up, and it's
Yeah.
got an actual iOS app that's pretty good.
Wow.
And he was able to pair to the device and then set up in the mesh. And I was looking at it like, I don't know, this is
That's
pretty nice
pretty
actually.
sweet.
I wanted to say this is going to be awful, but it's pretty smart. And a
Yeah.
lot of it's in JavaScript. And again, I'm a bit of a hater, but you can get a lot done with JavaScript
Yeah.
in a little bit of memory and make things
Yeah.
look nice and responsive.
Yeah.
It was pretty impressive.
That is
Yeah.
amazing. And then, oh, okay, I gotta stop.
It's all good. It's all good. But
This
I was
is
saying, like, you could put like an MQTT Olama on the thing that like answered people's
right.
questions, like or Magic 8 Ball or something like that if you
How
wanted to.
long would
But
the battery? So if I've got like just
some of them last
the
weeks. Yeah, like
Jesus.
like if there's no display and it's just the antenna,
Yeah.
apparently it just sips power.
And then and then that connects to your phone via Bluetooth? And even that Bluetooth connection is not gonna. Oh my god! So I could like put it in my pocket.
Yeah, one caveat. So depending on the memory of the SP32 that you've got, I think it can do Bluetooth or wireless. And if you turn them both on, it swaps between them, which isn't
okay.
great, but it's okay. You can turn on Bluetooth and then turn off Bluetooth and then hop on the wireless.
And by wireless, you mean Wi-Fi or
Wi-Fi? Yeah. So it runs something called LoRa WAN. LoRa is I think 900 or 950 megahertz, or maybe it's that range.
Right.
That's the protocol that runs on those frequencies, so it can go pretty far is what I was trying to get at. So lower frequency can generally go further, I think, with less amplitude. Awesome. It's quite cool.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
So I think the record's like a kilometer or something, but it's actually very interesting.
Yeah. Is there a recommended place to go to find out more? Is there one good place?
I would say start at meshtastic.org would be probably the best place to start. They've got, and that's kind of the software docs, but they'll recommend some hardware to you. I could recommend a vendor to you, but like in this climate, I don't want to say political climate, but like there's Asian vendors are a little bit difficult to deal with as Americans, I think.
Yeah.
But as a Canadian,
there was a question. What's the difference between K8 and K3?
Oh,
K3
was
5.
No, it's 5. 5.
So K8, it's actually K8S versus K3S.
Yeah.
K3S was a project by Rancher, right?
Yes. Oh, an employee at Rancher's personal
and
project,
like it's like the senior executive at Rancher. I mean, like the president of the company.
I'm pretty sure.
CEO's like personal project.
Which is not like SUSE, but yeah, SUSE runs Rancher and K3 now, or K3S.
And it's meant as a local. So Kubernetes, you would have it on. I mean, I don't know if it still is, but for a long time, Datadog had the largest cluster, Kubernetes cluster for a long time. I don't know if they still are.
That's like a dubious honor.
Yeah. And so it could be across many huge numbers of machines. that, and you are orchestrating. Is Imagine you're running these containers pods, but imagine running containers, and you don't really care where it runs. You've just got a whole bunch of machines. Each of those machines has a number of resources available, and the scheduler schedules that container to run on one of all these machines. That requires a pretty. I mean, it's a for a lot of well, it is a big thing to manage. It is hard. I mean, not hard, but it takes a bit of effort to get it working right, and to really take advantage of the system.
Mhm.
K3s is how do you squeeze all that power into your laptop? Not really as a production thing, but um, as a way to get up to speed on Kubernetes. You want to get up
Yep.
to speed on Kubernetes, but you don't want to have this cluster of machines. You
Yep.
just got your own laptop and you want to learn how to work with Kubernetes. It
Yep.
is not a good way to run a container on your laptop, because there's container runners that will just do that. But if you're trying to learn about Kubernetes, it's awesome. Um,
I think the other thing that came out of that was Kine, which is the
oh yeah,
etcd translation layers for APIs.
yeah.
I'm laughing because I'm pretty sure you told me about this.
Kubernetes in Docker. Kind.
Not kinda, but Kine with an E. But kinda is
Oh,
also
kind.
with a D. Yeah,
Okay.
or maybe you told me about Kind, and I looked up Kine as a result.
Yeah.
But yeah, both are pretty cool. But as a result, there's also K0s, which is even smaller.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just like a
Yeah.
single node instance, is my
Yeah.
understanding. Yeah, very
Yeah.
very cool
So
stuff. I
yeah,
think all of
cool
this,
stuff.
if you're trying to write a JavaScript app that uses a Kubernetes API, this
Sure.
is the right way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Go. I'm trying to think of that other one. K9s, I think, is the Go app that I used to love using, the
Right.
2E
Right.
management
Right.
tool for Kubernetes. I used to love using that. That
Yeah.
thing's fantastic.
Yeah. The things about Kubernetes, I always remember from a so I when I was doing the podcast with another podcast I was doing with my co-host, whose name was Brett Fisher.
Hmm.
Um, we had on there, we had one of the three founders of Kubernetes.
Oh wow.
What was his name? The one who's a VP at Microsoft.
Oh, Brendan Burns.
Yeah. But and he was super interesting. But
Folks want to know how I
but
knew this, but he used to head AKS. I think is why I know him
okay, yeah.
back in the day. Yeah.
But another one of the founders, who created Heptio,
Yep.
right when
And
they
went
were
to VMware, I
announcing,
think. Yeah.
okay, right when they were announcing Heptio, he did a talk at some conference I did, like QCon or some other conference. Um, and he was talking about kind of the background, and and that was where I had learned that it's written in Go because they were just trying to learn Go and they wanted it like a test project, and they
I
just
like that.
thought it's Kubernetes saying it's a test project, it's never going to go anywhere, and then it went huge. So it was just a place to learn Go, and then as it got bigger and bigger, they were thinking, well, nobody should use. I mean, Go is a great language, but
Right.
don't stick to Go for writing Kubernetes things,
It's
because we
it's like
just
a
were learning a
systems.
new language. So
Yeah.
learn a new language and you use Kubernetes, and Go has become kind of the default. If you're going to
Right.
do Kubernetes, you're going to tend to use Go.
Right.
What was the other neat thing that I had learned on that talk? Anyway, we're going half hour long.
Yeah, ChatGPT summarized this podcast
Yeah,
for me.
yeah, yeah,
Well, thank you
yeah,
so much for the questions in the chat. That was
yeah,
awesome. As usual, I think we peaked at like 9 or 10
yeah,
concurrent viewers, which is always
yeah.
awesome. We're growing by leaps and bounds here. This
Huge.
is tenfold more than last year, so we'll take those numbers.
Yeah,
But appreciate the comments and a lot of the talk around IDEs. I legit, as Matt is, we're interested in this space. So thank you so much for
yep,
the participation.
yep, yep. Awesome. Should we finish?
I think let's find that button.
Let's see. Do I cut that button?
What is it? And the name. It's Technovangelist.
See, I've got an end button. It doesn't do anything.
Oh well, there we go. You gotta find a different.
It went offline. Okay,
He,
so
he,
I'm gonna
he
finish.
just sent a post to 9 different places.
No, I've got my Stream Deck, and the Stream Deck is actually hooked up rather than hooked up to my Mac, it's hooked up to a Raspberry Pi, and for
Right,
some
right.
reason the Pi got disconnected, so I have to
Oh
press
shoot.